The upscale hotel restaurant gleamed with crystal and candlelight as Jonathan Pierce waited at his reserved table, adjusting his tie nervously. At 37, he was CEO of Pierce Medical Technologies, wealthy and successful, but struggling. As a single father to his 6-year-old daughter Emma. Since his wife's death 3 years earlier, his sister had insisted on setting up this blind date. "You need to start living again, Jonathan. Emma needs to see you happy." So he had agreed, though he felt guilty leaving Emma with a sitter for an evening that would probably be awkward and meaningless. According to his sister, his date was named Sarah, worked in healthcare, and was perfect for him. Jonathan had low expectations. When a woman in scrubs and a bright red medical jacket entered the restaurant, looking around uncertainly, Jonathan assumed she was lost or looking for someone else. She was maybe 30, with blonde hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, and carried herself with the efficient exhaustion of someone who had just finished a long shift. She approached his table. "Jonathan." He stood, confused. "Yes, Sarah. I'm so sorry. I just got off a 12-hour shift at the hospital. I didn't have time to change or go home. I texted your sister, but she said you wouldn't mind. But clearly this is too casual for..." Sarah gestured at the elegant restaurant, her professional medical attire completely out of place among the formal dinner crowd. Jonathan felt something. Unexpected relief. This woman had come straight from saving lives to meet him, hadn't bothered with pretense or performance, and was apologizing for being authentically herself. "Please, sit down." "I don't mind at all." He pulled out her chair. Sarah sat, clearly self-conscious about her appearance. "I'm a nurse in the ER. We had a major accident come in at the end of my shift, and I couldn't leave until the patients were stable. I probably should have cancelled, but I hate cancelling on people, and your sister spoke so highly of you. What you were doing was more important than this dinner," Jonathan said honestly. "Thank you for coming, anyway." They ordered, and as they talked, Jonathan learned Sarah's story. She was a single mother to a 7-year-old son named Tyler. Her husband had died in a military deployment 4 years ago. She worked long shifts to support them. Lived, paycheck to paycheck, despite being essential medical personnel. And hadn't dated since her husband's death because finding time was impossible. "I almost didn't come tonight," Sarah admitted. "Between my son and my job, there's barely time for sleep, let alone dating. But Tyler's with my mum tonight, and she insisted I needed to live a little. I'm pretty sure this fancy restaurant isn't what she meant though." She gestured at her scrubs with a self-deprecating smile. "Can I tell you something?" Jonathan said. "I was dreading tonight. I've been on dates where women research my net worth before meeting me, where they're more interested in my company than my daughter. You showed up in scrubs after a 12-hour shift, saving lives. That's the most impressive thing anyone has done on a first date with me." Sarah laughed. "I saved a car accident victim and impressed a CEO. Not a bad evening." They talked for hours. Jonathan told Sarah about Emma, about the challenges of single fatherhood, about the loneliness of being a widowed parent. Sarah shared similar struggles from a different angle: the guilt of working long shifts and missing school events, the financial stress despite crucial work, the exhaustion of doing it all alone. "Do you mind if I ask what happened to your wife?" Sarah asked gently. "Cancer. It was fast and brutal. Emma was 3. She barely remembers her mother, which breaks my heart." Jonathan's voice caught. "What about your husband?" "Roadside bomb. Tyler was 3 too. Same heartbreaker, had photos and stories, but not real memories of his father." They looked at each other, two people who understood grief and single parenthood from the same painful place. "This is going to sound crazy," Jonathan said. "But can I meet Tyler? And would you be willing to meet Emma? I know it's early, but I'm tired of dating people who see my daughter as an obligation. You understand that kids come first because yours does too." "I'd like that," Sarah said, "but I need to be honest about something. Your sister mentioned you're successful, but she didn't say you're Jonathan Pierce, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I looked you up after she gave me your name. We're from completely different worlds financially." "Does that bother you?" Jonathan asked carefully. "It intimidates me," Sarah admitted. "I live in a two-bedroom apartment and budget groceries down to the dollar. You probably own this hotel. That's a huge gap. Or it's an opportunity," Jonathan suggested. "You understand struggle and real-world challenges. I understand business and resources. Maybe we complement each other." Over the following months, Sarah and Jonathan built something neither had expected. Their children became friends immediately, Emma and Tyler, bonding over shared experience of lost parents and single-parent households. Sarah brought grounding reality to Jonathan's sometimes isolated executive world. Jonathan provided stability and resources that eased Sarah's constant financial stress. "I don't want you to think I'm using you for money," Sarah told Jonathan 6 months into their relationship. "I can't contribute equally financially, and that makes me uncomfortable." "You contribute in ways that matter more than money," Jonathan said. "You teach Emma about compassion through your medical work. You show her that strong women can handle impossible challenges. You remind me that success is measured in lives touched, not dollars earned. That's worth more than any financial contribution." But Jonathan also quietly paid off Sarah's student loans, got Tyler into the same private school Emma attended, and ensured Sarah could reduce her shifts to have more time with her son. He did it not as charity, but as investment in their future together. 1 year after Sarah had walked into an upscale restaurant, still wearing her scrubs, Jonathan proposed not at a fancy venue, but at the hospital where Sarah worked, in the break room where she took her rare moments of rest. "You showed up to our first date in scrubs because you had been saving lives. You could have been embarrassed or apologetic. Instead, you were authentically yourself, a nurse, a mother, a person who prioritizes what matters." Jonathan knelt with the ring as Sarah's co-workers watched through the window. "Will you marry me? Will you let me support your work while you keep teaching me what truly matters? Will you let Emma and Tyler officially become siblings in this blended family we're building?" Through tears, Sarah said yes, but only if you promise to always remember that first date. That I walked in wearing scrubs, and you saw that as impressive rather than inappropriate. That you valued my work over my appearance. That you understood single parenthood because you lived it too. "I promise," Jonathan said. "How could I forget? You walked into a fancy restaurant in medical scrubs and stole my heart by being exactly who you are, someone who saves lives and raises her child and does both with courage." At their wedding, with Emma and Tyler as flower girl and ring bearer, Sarah's vows made everyone cry. "I walked into our first date wearing scrubs, exhausted from a 12-hour shift, certain I'd be judged. My husband saw a woman who prioritized saving lives over impressing dates. He understood, because he prioritized his daughter the same way. We built our love on shared values, putting children first, honoring lost spouses, and measuring success by impact rather than income." Thank you, Jonathan, for seeing the nurse in scrubs and recognizing someone worth loving. If this story reminded you that authenticity matters more than appearance, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment about when being yourself led to unexpected love.